On today's show, we're going to be talking about the best years, from best to worst, favorite to least favorite of the Jokic era. We're also going to be looking at milestones that could fall, records that could fall, the Denver Nuggets 2025 season, and then the top storylines heading into the season. We'll sort all of that out and more on today's DNVR Nuggets podcast. Oh, baby. Another week. I missed the show over the weekend. You know?
Yeah,
like, I
of
missed
course.
it. We had a 3-day weekend. Too long. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR show. Live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Do yourself a favor and hop. If you're watching live, hop in the Toyota chat and talk with your fellow Nuggets fans about all of our topics today, because we have topics that are very interactive, very subjective. The best year of the Jokic era, we're going to get to that in a bit. We just started doing this together. Like, let's brainstorm a list, completely different lists.
Yeah, you'd be surprised what's different here.
So I think that's great. But we're going to start with a report from friend of the show, Mark Stein.
Oh, is that true?
It is true. I don't know if you guys saw the news today. Joe Pompliano did a big write-up on ALLCITY, which of course started out as just DNVR, then expanded to ALLCITY, and is now in 4, soon to be 5 markets. Mark Stein is on board, a guy I grew up watching.
Oh, dude, he's one of the OG newsbreakers. First of all, to be a surviving newsbreaker in the Woj and Shams era says a lot. Yeah, dude, everyone knows Mark Stein, and I can't believe that technically I can call him a coworker. He doesn't know that, but I do.
He might not know it. But he was reporting over the weekend that the Denver Nuggets have at least had exploratory interest in one, Vasa Micic.
This exploratory interest has been around, no? I feel like we've heard about this for a few summers now.
To me, it does feel this way. I haven't even poked around about this, to be honest. We're kind of in the dead of off season.
Sure.
Give everybody a little space. But to me, like, you'd have to trade for Vasa Micic, and likely, you know, the salary, I believe, matches up to where it could be a Zeke for Micic deal. I don't think anything like that is imminent. I don't think that's a thing that Denver is like, we have to do. But it is interesting for me. We know that Jokic asked for Russell Westbrook. You know, that he was more so than just a casual, yeah, if you guys bring him in, I'd be happy. It was more emphatic than that. But I don't know if he was going full GM mode and telling
make it happen
or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think anything like that. But I do think it was more than just a stamp of approval. We know he just played for Team Serbia. He seems to enjoy the style. I do wonder if some of this is like, you know what? There's guys that you bring in a Serbian guy, gives Jokic another buddy. We know he liked playing with him in that stage. I don't know. Do you look at that and say, because Micic is like a good player in the NBA. He's a good player. Not the type of guy you feel like you have to go out and get. But maybe it is one of those things where you look at Team Serbia and you go, you know what? There's a little added value just to Denver.
Just to get another one of those guys there. You saw how happy...
What do you mean by those guys?
The Serbians.
Okay, all right.
Just to be very clear. The Serbian national basketball team that plays so well together. And just to get a little chemistry going there. Look, people, I think, have overstated how much happier Jokic looked after that than the NBA title. He was also happy with the NBA title. Yeah. I do want to reiterate that. But there is clearly there is some like level of immediate joy that seems to be more immediately accessible to Jokic, being around his people, playing with those guys. And it's certainly like, I'm surprised we've gotten this long, really, before we've talked more seriously about, just for Jokic's mental even, can we get a guy in here that he's comfortable being around, that he considers a friend, that he can speak the language with? So obviously we know Vasa's career outside of the NBA, there's more to stand on than just being Jokic's friend. But I think let's not kid ourselves. This isn't, all 30 teams are, they're not all clamoring to get him here. Yeah. But I think with the Jokic connection, to be honest, I'm surprised it's taken this long for us to talk about it.
Yeah, to me, it almost feels less like this feels almost like a thing that's out there that is, everybody makes calls. I can't imagine this being a thing, but maybe it is at the trade deadline. I mean, Denver might need another point guard.
Right.
Russell Westbrook in here. We don't know if it's going to work. They might need somebody like that. So
just another plan going forward.
Another iron in the fire.
Of course, I am with chat. Like, if we're going to get Serbian here, get me Alexa Avramovic.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah, you know me. But,
yeah.
But no, I mean, I think...
By the way, that's how you win the press conference, though. Do you see, like, the 76ers added Yabusele?
That's exactly it, dude.
Dude, I'm telling you, Daryl Morey, he's a smart guy. His teams have always been good. Never won it, but always been good. But he is definitely a win the press conference guy. Yabusele is coming off of his, like, absolute apex.
Who's going to do it?
Who's going to do it? If you would have signed Yabusele 2 months ago, people would have been like, what? But now you get the little bump in the Olympics. It's like, hey, man, what a signing.
True. Plus, he tweeted, I've been waiting for a chance. It all looks great. And, will he have a huge impact in that role with the Sixers? I'm going to guess probably not. He could. Obviously, he's a very good player, but you're right. It's a little bit of that. But I just think seeing Jokic, I think, enjoy that experience so much probably doesn't. Sorry, Kale. It's not your fault.
Kale.
It's not your fault. It's salary filler.
It's Micic.
Yeah,
it's Micic. Like.
But maybe there's some. Maybe
we
there's
didn't want to
it.
throw you in, but there was a sweetener, man. They made us throw Kale.
Obviously, the headliner would be Bogdanovich. That's a very different conversation.
Well, yeah,
but this very small kind of like little treat you could throw Jokic. I get it. I get the thinking at least.
Another story in the headlines here as we go through some headlines. Red Rocks is back. Have you seen this? Every summer, you haven't seen it. He has not seen it. I think every Nuggets fan on earth has seen it but vote. The Red Rocks workouts.
Oh, they're workouts. Well, no, I thought...
What'd you think? That was not a good enough lead-in?
With the context of this being a Nugget show. So you know where my head went?
The entirety of Red Rocks had disappeared, but now it's back.
I almost asked, where did it go?
Where did it go?
So,
the Red Rocks workouts, you see the fellas out there, and who do we see? Christian Braun, Trey Alexander, all the two-way guys. It's kind of fun seeing the crew kind of trickle in. I'm told Peyton Watson will be arriving in the next week or so. Jamal Murray was pictured in one of these. It's just kind of fun. Like this time of year, we're far enough away that we're not counting down, 2 weeks till media day or whatever. We're not quite there, but we are at the point where people start to filter in for workouts and for, the way it works for players this time of year is they'll usually come in for a week or 2 weeks and then take a little break and then come back or something like that. The veteran players, the younger guys are usually here. But it's kind of cool to see the Red Rock workouts back.
I loved it, man. My biggest takeaway was I just loved that Christian Braun was the face of it. Now, from a digital perspective, obviously, he's the starter that's there. It's a very easy sell. But as far as some of the younger guys being together already and getting workouts in together, Christian is like the perfect slot for the leader of the youth, right?
Yeah.
He's still young,
yeah,
but he's got some veteran status. He's played in some big games.
Dude, he's a total junior in college.
Yes, he's the bridge.
He's not quite the senior.
But he's the bridge between the upperclassmen and the underclassmen. And I really love it, man. I love, first of all, when he just says halfway through it, I love this shit. I believe him because I don't. But he does.
He looks like a guy that likes working out.
That really likes working out. But that's Christian Braun. And I really liked that he was the face of it. It just kind of felt appropriate. And it's always fun to see the fellas getting back together. That stuff matters. I can say it manifests in this win or that win or whatever. All I can say is the year the Nuggets won a title, the good feeling in the air started well before the season started.
Yeah.
And so anytime the guys are together, I think that's a good sign.
I love your note about Christian, though, because it's not like I saw somebody put on Twitter and was like, I really wish PWAT was there. So, guys, chill. Like,
Yeah. He's working out.
Well, another thing, like some people will say, like a guy will post something to Instagram 4 times and people will be like, he's been in the lab all summer.
Right.
He's been working hard, man. I saw it. He posted on Instagram. And if somebody doesn't post it, it's like, I just don't know if he's been in the gym.
Has he been? Right.
Guys, these guys are in the gym, man. They're in the gym a lot. They're working with trainers. They're doing a bunch of different things. But I will say that Christian is on the KCP path,
right?
Not just literally, and that he is literally replacing him, but right behind him now as that. But when you talk about what type of player, if you're a role player, and I don't think Christian Braun's a star, I think he can be a star role player,
right?
But he's a role player, and when you're like KCP is a role player, when you're a role player, one of the ways you turn a 6, 7, 8 year career into a 15-year career is you also develop leadership. You become a role player in terms of leading guys. And while I don't think it's a penalty or anything bad for who is not here, working out. By the way, some guys are here and just weren't part of the Red Rocks workout, just to be clear. But I do think it's cool that Christian finds himself in that role.
Me too.
Because he is, I really think, as we're going to get to something with Christian here later on, there's a hump you have to get over to where you're no longer the baby. Even though you're not above that level, it's like you take on responsibility. You think about your young, a family, a big family, and there's younger brothers. There's a moment in time when you start to have chores.
Yeah.
Like that, well, he's too young. He doesn't do anything. The older kids do chores. Eventually you get a chore and it's like, all right, vote. Vote. I guess they wouldn't call you that. A family, everybody's a vote.
You guys were the first people in my life to call me vote, by the way.
Brendan, your job is to take out the trash now every week. And it's like, oh, he's got a chore. He's in the I feel like Christian doing Red Walks workouts, it's almost a little bit like he has a chore now. It's his first chore.
I love that. I strongly agree. Also, if we're going to
Bill Simmons has take.
If we're going to get, come on. It is a pod. If we're going to get into Project Dynasty mindset, which I know no one wants to hear after losing in the second round. That's fair. But just the actual philosophy and what they're trying to do long term. Christian is the perfect guy to be the face of, okay, you're a young guy. You just got to Denver. Here's how it works. Here's how we do it here. Like, you might get Jokic to rebound for you while you're shooting if you're Michael Porter Jr., but he's probably in Serbia or he's not the most outspoken guy. Like Christian being like, this is how hard we work. This is how it's done every day.
Yeah, and he does work hard. He's a good example of that.
He's a perfect example.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Christian says stuff like this, but even if it's just like, he's there, he's like, hey, man, this is how we work out. We go hard. And by the way, listen to everything Jokic says, like just stuff like that.
Julian was there as well. Sorry, we forgot to mention Julian.
So he's got another year under his belt as well. But to me, there's something appropriate about CB kind of becoming this bridge and setting the tone for what it means to be, okay, Calvin Booth tabbed you. Calvin Booth believes in you. Here's the work that has to follow.
Yeah. We always talk about my cousin. We reference him on the show a lot, my cousin Adrian. He's got 5 boys, 5 kids. And there is the middle one who is both the younger brother to the bigger 2 and the older brother to the younger 2. He's like the perfect right in the middle. So he beats up the younger ones and gets beat up by the older ones. That is Christian. And right now he's out there beating up the younger ones.
That's so true.
Get back on the line. We're going up again. We're going for another one. Then he gets into camp and Jamal's like, go get us some water. He's like, wow, I'm right there in the middle. As a middle child, I can empathize with this. We're going to go quickly. I'm moving the show around a little bit, Kale. We're doing it on the fly. I want to talk about milestones that are coming up because I think when we rank the seasons, it's going to be more of a conversation than this one will be. But I just want to get your sense of how into this you are, okay? Michael Malone is 9 wins away from passing Doug Moe. Doug Moe as the winningest coach in Denver Nuggets franchise history. 9. It's going to happen this year.
Yeah. I love this.
I think it's going to be a big one. I will say, when I go and look at the schedule, there wasn't a great game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 9th game of the season is Miami, so at home. That's the earliest this could happen. I don't think they're going 9-0 to start, although they do have some good home games and some favorable ones. Right after that is Dallas, so if they went 9-1 in Denver, that would be awesome. And then after that, you're on the road for a 3-game road trip. So Denver, to get to 9, if they want it to happen at home, they have a game against Dallas right after that. I believe they'd have to go 9-5 to start to get that home game. And then after that, you're at LA. After that, you're home against New York. And then after that, you're on the road for 2 road games, then at home for 1. So what I'm saying here is right around the period of time of Michael Malone where he should be getting this, almost all the games are on the road, which is kind of a bummer.
No, it's a huge bummer. It's a huge bummer because, first of all, the reason this is awesome and appropriate, it is pretty blatant. There's one title in Denver Nuggets history, and we know how much it has to do with Jokic and Murray's transcendent performance in a 2-guy role there. But Malone oversaw it. And not only that, Malone oversaw the whole thing. It was Malone's choice to start Jokic. It was Malone's choice to build the on-court product the way it's been built over the last 5-6 years. Now, many people have some complaints, right? Some nitpicks. Fair enough. Not a perfect coach. I don't think there's a perfect coach in the league. But Malone has been, you talk the Jokic Murray era. The third name is Malone. He has been here the whole time. He has been a face of it. And it's appropriate for him to become the winningest head coach in Nuggets history. He should be. But I want it to happen either at home or in Los Angeles. Is that a Clippers game or a Lakers game?
A Lakers game
All right,
at LA.
that'd be my next consolation.
Oh man, Who's Your Daddy on November 23rd while he becomes the winningest coach.
They just celebrate on the court.
Well, you do come home right after that for Thanksgiving and a game against New York where he's from. So it could be cool. Then you get a ceremony, where you kind of
That'd be pretty cool for him too, with the way the last couple of years have gone. But yeah, this is this is appropriate, man. Like I know some people have issues with the way the last season went, and that's all fair. But there's a broader point to Malone's tenure that at this point is undeniable. Like it's worked out. And he's been a face of it, and he's been who's your daddy, take that L on the way out. Like this is a guy that understood what it meant to come here and be a part of the Denver Nuggets. And the way I think he embraced it and kind of went with it and endeared himself to the fan base it was really cool to see.
So the next one I'll give you here real quick. It's actually out of order, Kale. Jokic is 9 triple-doubles away from passing Magic Johnson all-time for third. What happened?
Anyway, sorry. You're good.
All right. Jokic, 9 triple-doubles away from passing Magic Johnson. He would become third. Number 1 is Russell Westbrook. Number 2 is Oscar Robertson, which will take probably 3 seasons for him to reach, but maybe 2. I think he's 50 away. So if he gets 25 and 25, he'll get it at the end of next season to become number 2 all time. But become number 3 and pass Magic Johnson would be a pretty big milestone. Are you into this?
Yeah, of course, man. I think we've come a long way from the hedges and the qualifiers to Jokic's passing ability. I think it's almost safer now to call him the best passing big ever. But just to make the point clear, yeah, he has more triple doubles than Magic Johnson.
That would be great.
That would be pretty cool. And I think it would just be one of those fun facts that, everyone in Denver would know and a lot of the greater national audience would know at this point. But there are still some people who don't. They think Jokic is good, but they don't quite get it. That would be a very fun one to just drop at a party. More triple doubles than Magic Johnson, in case you haven't been paying attention.
So if I'm doing my math right, he gets one about every third game on average, is about what he averages. That would set him passing Magic Johnson right around Christmas. That'd be a fun little Christmas Day game, triple-double.
Oh, yeah. The national broadcast will run they'll have no choice but to run
They'll
with
have to. You got to force their hand.
Yeah, they'll run that graphic like 9 times. All right, that one's easy. Make it happen on Christmas, Yoke.
All right, let's take a break. I have more of these on the other side. We'll get to that, and we're going to try to rank, in terms of enjoyment, all of the Jokic seasons and talk about how we arrived at our own vote.
Okay, none of you have... You don't have to go to Red Rocks and do the Nuggets workout. You really don't have to. But you do have to get out there and take care of yourself, get active. Colorado should be on top here as the healthiest state. Right now, we're not. That's why UC Health has launched the Ready, Set, Co initiative. And this is a proud partnership with Coach Prime. And if I were thinking about motivation, Coach Prime is on the short list of guys that would want talking to me. I'm going to be honest. He wants to help me, you, and other Coloradans be our healthiest selves as the chief motivation officer at UC Health's Ready, Set, Co challenge. Again, good hire. The goal of the challenge is to get Colorado back to its rightful place as the healthiest state and centered around just getting back that balance in our lives, what we eat, how much we work out, how much we're outside, and especially the outside part. It's the best part of living here in Colorado. I grew up in New Jersey. I grew up loitering outside of like PetSmarts and Starbucks. You guys have the mountains. So like that's much cooler. I wish I learned how to fish and hike and all that stuff.
Dude, I could teach you.
Well, yeah, when I was young, for my real dad. No, for my real dad.
Come on, I want to teach you to fish.
All right, we can go. Because I want to get active, because Coach Prime told me to. If you want to join UC Health's Ready, Set, Co challenge, click the link in the show notes or go to www.uchealth.org/ready-set-co. And if you're going to the mountains, do it in a Toyota, baby. Because it's just the perfect vehicle for Colorado. It's also the official vehicle of DNVR, baby. They have trucks. That's Toyota's thing. They've got other 4-wheel drive options. They've got other... You can go off-roading. You can go hauling, right? If you're an actual blue-collar worker that does something real for a living, which I know many of you are. Maybe you want a nice balance between the smooth city ride in Denver to, I still want to go to Estes Park this weekend. again, Toyota's right for you. Maybe you're looking for low emission, no emission cars.
We're almost at peak Estes Park going time, to be honest with you.
And even still, Toyota would have a vehicle for you no matter what kind of Coloradan you are.
Like if you want to go up Old Fall River Road where it is a four-wheel drive road.
Yeah, you want to get yourself a Toyota.
Okay.
Reliable, safe, looks good. Do yourself a favor, visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota Arapahoe in Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of the Denver Nuggets, an official vehicle of DNVR.
All right, we are back segment 2 here. I got a couple more of these milestones. It actually is not... This almost feels like a gap year for milestones.
Yeah.
As I was going through the record books, there was a handful last year. You know, Murray, most notably, Michael Porter becoming the all-time leader in threes in one season.
Smash
Jamal
it.
becoming all-time leader all-time. Like, those are, I think, the big ones. Michael Porter Jr., he's 155 threes away from becoming second all-time. So right now it's Murray as all-time leader. He's not going to catch Murray, I don't think, because, you know, he's ahead and they're playing together. But 155, just for reference, he made 220 last year, and he made 188 the year before. So 155, as long as he's relatively healthy, he should be able to hit that. And then Jokic is 92. Oh yeah, so he should hit it if he plays roughly 57 games at his pace. Let's just start there. It feels right that Murray and MPJ are 1-2 and three-pointers made.
Absolutely should be, especially because the rest of the list is kind of like a journey through not just the history of how the three-point line has the prevalence of the three-point shot has changed, but also just the caliber of players in Denver, right? Like that list at times you're looking at it and you're going, man, not a ton of names.
J.R. Smith belongs on it.
Sure. But
you're right,
there was a
some.
point in time where there were some names on that list where you're going, all right, not the most impressive list. Murray and Porter should be at the top of it, right? They're playing in this modern era.
Well, Will Barton, you're right. Will Barton is
right. Like that's
there.
not every team's third, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I love Will as much as anyone.
We all love him.
But that's we can't say that actually.
Gary
But listen,
Harris, Wilson Chandler, Danilo Gallinari, and Chauncey Billups. That is a wild. I mean, I love all those guys.
Porter being anywhere near the top of any organization's list, though, is like that is something that is very cool and something that we know will mean a lot to him. Cannot be overstated. The various points in his career in which it looked like it was done. He was told it was done. He felt like it was done. He has a chance if he stays healthy enough to put himself firmly number 2 on this list. I think that's really, really cool. And then Jamal Murray, of course, needs to have, he already has it, but Jamal Murray being on top of that list, there should be at least one list Jamal Murray is on top of. We know that it's not the easiest time to be a Jamal Murray stan right now.
Yeah.
But we also know that Murray was the second most important person in the single most important year in the history of this entire operation. So it's really cool that those guys would be 1-2. It's appropriate.
Yeah. So it'd be cool for him to be 1-2. By the way, Jokic likely to, or has a chance to be 3. He's 92 behind J.R. Smith. He probably won't catch. I don't remember what he shot last year, but
at this point, he may never get it.
he'll never
hit another
one. And then this one's interesting. Jokic, 29 triple-doubles in a season is his current record. Okay? His current record. Is it possible he actually breaks that record this year? It's hard for me to envision what things... He set the bar so high. I don't know what stat outlier he'll have, but he had 25 last year, 29 this year. Do you think... What would you guess triple-double-wise for him this year?
Sorry. How many was it last year?
25.
25.
29 the year before.
Yeah, maybe like... I'm going to say 25 to 27 again.
So right in the middle.
Right in the middle. I just don't... I think a lot of it for Yoke, and this is not reducing it, this is like his brilliance. There's something really so easy about, okay, he scored a lot, now they're doubling, here's an open 3. And it just feels like the open 3s are kind of all of a sudden less of a weapon, so...
We'll see. We'll see about that. All right, let's rank now our season. Those are the milestones. Maybe there's other ones you guys have discovered. You can let me know, and we'll discuss those on the tomorrow show. But we started talking about what was the best seasons of the Jokic era. And really by best, we just mean our personal favorite.
Yeah.
Because it's always subjective. I'm going to go ahead and spoil number 1 because I think you got this. 2023. They win a championship. The playoffs are unbelievable. The regular season that year was good. I would say very good, but not my favorite regular season. But come on, the playoffs were near perfect, and they won a championship. That's will be number 1, and I don't know if it's possible to top it.
I don't think you can because it's not just the first ever. It's 16-4, and it was Yokes.
I think you can. I don't think you will.
Okay.
But I think you can. Like,
right.
in theory, there is, a more dramatic or iconic or something, crazier
Beat
performances.
the Celtics in 7, maybe, and it feels. That was a real
sweeping the Lakers is already that. So I don't know.
I know.
But if you had, I don't know, there was so many great performances.
You just need to have. I think you need to be part of an iconic finals. That's like outside of
right.
Denver. The
You're right.
world views it as iconic.
That's a great take. The playoffs alone make that could have been the worst regular season, and I still would have ranked it number 1.
Yeah, it's like I don't even remember the regular season.
But number 2 gets tough vote.
Well, it gets tough because a little compartmentalization is required, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If we're talking just basketball and some fun times had watching the Nuggets play, and especially the playoffs, well, then I think it's easily the bubble. Important caveat that this was a terrible year in everyone's life. So as far as favorites go, there's a bit of an asterisk there. But I do think the 2-3-1 comebacks, for me, like being a part of this that we do here at the bar, the only thing that topped Game 7 of the Utah series was Game 7 of the Clippers series.
Right.
Honestly, even the Lakers wins here, which were amazing, there was this the way everyone just lost their minds when they came back and beat the Clippers. To me, I'll actually remember that for the rest of my life. So
the bubble definitely has the most iconic moments. And that season had some highs to it as well. Denver was still on the come up.
Right.
And they were looking good. They had a little bit of a lull right before the bubble or before the pandemic started. They were kind of on a downturn, which almost to me, I think paints in my mind the way I felt about that year.
Yeah.
I felt about it as a little more uneven. If you took out the last 5 games before that,
and
I
then
think
there's
they were
a
actually on a
hiatus
heater.
too, so that's tough. But
Such a hiatus. And if you look at the world at that time, it kind of sucks. The world was not great.
You know what my single favorite part was, though, is that the Clippers were the title favorites. People kind of forget that. And the obvious favorites. And not only that, they were this assembled through free agency mercenary team. And they thought the Nuggets were soft, and they said as much publicly. Yeah. And then in a who really wants it environment, it's just the basketball. Do you want to go home or do you want to win?
Yeah.
One team was a lot tougher than the other.
Underrated thing about the bubble. Well, you also get the bubble, the Bol, Jokic, Plumlee, Jeremy Grant game where the starting lineup was all guys that were
the whole bubble was kind of awesome. Porter had an insane game,
and
too.
then Porter had that was what I was getting to, is that Michael Porter had 2 games in a row in the tune-up portion.
That's right.
That were we were still waiting for his arrival. It was still is it now? Is it not? Because I believe that's his rookie season. And it was one of those, or the first year that he actually played minutes. And it was the year where you're like, oh man, this dude is he goes through basically a rookie season. The pandemic happens, which interrupts it. And it's almost like he got a summer. So coming back to the bubble almost felt like year 2.
Yes.
And when he arrived, he was just unbelievable. You're like, oh man, he leveled up.
Oh man. And the 360 no scope on the Clippers. It's an all-timer.
I agree, by the way. I think 2020 is the second best year.
This is
my
where
second
it gets
favorite.
tough, though, Adam.
Not for me. I actually have a firm number 2, or number 3, but we disagree. This is where our lists diverge.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, cool.
I'm going off your list so I can critique it.
I think people will be surprised with this one. My third favorite season. This doesn't feel right, actually, now that I say it. But I'm just going to say it.
Oh, no.
I already disagree with my own take.
Oh,
the
wow.
second round loss to the Blazers.
2019.
2019.
First playoff year.
They're the 2 seed. Everyone thinks they suck. But
I love that you call it the year they lost to the Blazers, not the year they first made the playoffs, the year they beat the Spurs.
Yeah. Or even just 2019. Yeah. I went with the worst part. No, that was it. That was the first arrival. That was everyone thought they stunk. Now, granted, they did lose to a Blazers team they should have beaten, but just to the first playoff series win. Murray surviving that series felt so monumental. The Spurs series,
and he was great in it after the first game and a half. He wasn't bad the whole time.
No, and to me, this regular season was it's kind of when Fraud City was born. Everyone was telling us we sucked, and we were like, "Tell us more as we win more games. Tell us more." And granted, there was some growth the Nuggets needed to do, but we could really all start to see what we all knew we would ultimately be right about.
I think if I recall, the 2019 season, I believe Jokic was 3rd or 4th in MVP voting. If I am not, he was 4th. It was Giannis who won, James Harden who was 2nd, Paul George who was 3rd, and Jokic who was 4th. Steph Curry was 5th.
Yes.
Just for reference, LeBron James not on the list there that season. I think he had a lot of injuries, but that was before we believed Jokic would be MVP, that was kind of like, hell yeah, fourth in MVP vote. It was kind of like
this is
a big leap year
our
for
hot
him.
box and hot takes this year were as fun as they've ever
Yeah,
been. We were like,
they were
we were
starting.
really
The
feeling
big ones were starting to like
but it was
get
still,
in view.
It was like, could he win an MVP?
Yeah.
Like, dude.
And also, you're right. Fraud City was great because everyone was saying they were frauds, and then it felt like they were for a game and a half, and it was like, oh shit, we lost the battle.
Yeah, when the bat against the Spurs, I was like, oh my god.
It's like, oh man, everyone's gonna clown us, and we have no defense. And then
Shout
of
out
course
Gary
we
Harris.
Shout out. I had that one as fifth. I had it as fifth, but it was. I will say, it was a great year. So like it's almost like I have to. After that one, I think there's 3 years that are a little bit less than for me than the others. But that one was fifth. All right, what's your next one?
2018 Game 82.
Man, okay.
They lose to the Wolves, but they went on such a run to close that season.
Yeah. Game 82 is iconic.
Yeah, and they lost, which sucked. But that run to close the season, it was like, and Gary Harris was on his X Factor stretch, and it was. So this is like still,
is that Pete Gary Harris?
It is.
That's Pete Gary Harris.
So it's not like, okay, we necessarily know the Nuggets are who we think they are.
Yeah.
But we finally got in on the fun.
That was Pete Gary Harris.
We finally got in on the fun. Like the Nuggets had some juice, and even though they didn't make it, that push to almost make the playoffs finally felt like, all right, we're at least seated at the table. Maybe not the big boys table, but not the kids table. And so there was something fun about that regular season to me.
There was also like a real palpable, at least in Denver, feeling of, oh, we finally have that dude. Like Jokic is
That's
that
right. Oh, because
dude.
you're right.
That
'cause
was
even in
you're a
game,
year behind.
but game 82, there was still a little third quarter of game 82.
Outside of Denver, for sure.
Third quarter of game 82 was one of his first like LeBron kind of holy shit though. Like,
was this the Jokic triple? I think it's the fastest triple double year as well as this year.
Shout out Jim Tucker.
believe. So that was a fun little thing.
yes,
you got?
like this was fun because we weren't thinking title yet, but we got a lot. We got a lot to enjoy, and like, there are sweet spots of fandom that are almost easier to enjoy before the expectations really kick in.
Is this the Wancho game year too as well? Do you know? I can't.
Yeah, I think that's all the same.
2018 is the Wancho game. I
There
think
was
you might
so
be
many
right.
fun, so
Yeah,
many
dude.
fun games
No,
that
it was
year.
not. It was not.
Okay, good.
Was Wancho 2017 then?
I'm guessing 2019. Let's see. Yeah, it was 2019 was the Wancho game. Okay. I had game 80. I had that season 2018 sixth. So I actually have 2 seasons still, third and fourth ahead. Where do you go next?
So this is, you can start to see the shift here. I have not gotten to MVP seasons, and I think you have. And as fun as the MVPs were, I just thought the rest of the years were so cursed, right? So for me, fifth, Murray tears his ACL. Terrible.
Yeah.
Jokic does win an MVP, his first MVP, right?
And 21, yeah.
And there was 2.5 glorious weeks post-trade deadline where not just us, but everyone in the world thought the Nuggets might actually be the best team in the world. It wasn't the playoffs yet, but post-Aaron Gordon trade, everything felt glorious. Right up until that season turned into an absolute nightmare. It was almost a dream come true.
So 21, I had number 4. This season was great. The run they were on and getting Aaron Gordon was the first time where I felt like it was time. It did feel like, okay, here we go. They're coming off the bubble. Aaron Gordon completes the roster, fits in perfectly. And Jokic obviously is on pace for an MVP. And you're just like, this is it.
Will
They're
Barton
over
was
the
balling.
hump. Will Barton's balling, which is
People don't
was
remember
fun.
that part, but it was happening.
It just, the family was all still together. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
honestly, the family was still together. Conley's here, everything.
Oh, there was a lot.
So that was great, but
There's a big but.
But there was a big but in how it ended. I will say, going to the playoffs and winning a series, I think that season, I might have had it much lower if they would have gone to the playoffs and lost in the first round.
Oh, yeah.
Especially that Portland team. But going there and beating Damian Lillard without your sidekick is like... Lillard forever had got... Jokic, part of why Jokic's ranked so high now is because, like, no, he went against in his prime MVP candidate and beat him. Excuse me.
Even while undermanned. Not only that, I'll make this point forever. It was the first time they won a series in under 7 games.
That's right. That's right.
So you're right. There was something really redeeming about that. And that was like our little hang on. This is going to be a rough couple of years. but hang on because
Yeah.
this team is good.
Yeah.
So
100%. All right, I had that fourth, so you're still missing my personal third.
wow.
What do you have next?
57 wins, number 6.
Last year?
Last year.
Wow. Ranked 7th for me.
I have it at 6 though.
Actually, you know what I didn't rank was the rookie season of Yoke. I should have
I didn't
thought about
either,
that
actually.
one.
I
Now
didn't
that
either.
I think of
Yeah.
it.
I didn't put that one in there. But this is only 6th for me, so it's not that far off. But 57 wins. We got to make. Are they going to go back to back? They did win 57 games. I think we all kind of had a weird feeling the whole time. And we didn't want to. It's tough in this chair, right? Feelings are part of it. You do want to, you don't want to bullshit people. You want to try to be true and say what you think. I thought they were a contender. They were.
They were a contender.
They
They
were.
were.
But the feeling was just different.
Yeah.
And we all knew it. And we didn't know how much weight to put into it necessarily. Maybe some of you did. But to me, there was this year should have been so much more fun than it was.
I agree. What do you got next?
For me, coming in at 7 is Murray misses the entire season. And Jokic does go God mode.
This is wild to me.
Jokic goes God mode.
This is my last ranked one. But you were right that Yoke gave us so many moments. So many.
Well, this is my last ranked one too, buddy.
You're missing 2 years.
No, I'm at 7. You're at 7.
Yeah, there's 9. It's all right. Keep going. Keep going. You're missing his rookie and sophomore seasons.
I did forget to go that far back. Well, then, yeah, out of the ones I listed, Murray misses entire season for me was tough just because we thought he'd come back at some point. And then Porter was out that whole year, too.
Michael Porter and Jamal Murray are both out. That was purgatory. It is the worst season. But when we were going through what happened that year, some of Yoke's most iconic moments are that season.
I know. That's the thing that
Headband game.
That's the thing. There's a lot.
Pelicans game, Clippers game. There's so many games in that year that are like all-timer.
Is also would you say that was just for the whole season? Do you think that was the best Jokic ever was?
Might have been. Honestly, might have been.
So, yeah, you're right. There's a lot there.
Might have been. Number 3 for me was 2017. The sophomore year to me was the first year. Jokic's rookie season was great. I put Jokic's rookie season as 16 or as number 8, second to least favorite. Although as you go through these, I've enjoyed every single one. Every single one of has been of an A- or higher, with some being an A++. But the sophomore year to me, that was the year where everything came into focus about Jokic, and it was so fun. It was so new. We've seen almost every now and then Jokic does something new. How often do we see something we've never seen from Jokic? Maybe nowadays 3 times a year. But back then, every game was something new. Every game was he throws it over his head sometimes.
It's also
he grabs rebounds with one hand sometimes and puts them back in. It was nonstop newness.
Also insane that I left this off my own list. This was the year I got to Denver.
Yeah.
To do this, to watch Jokic.
It is insane you left
So
it off.
I'm an idiot, but
He'd shoot the little floater, and you'd be like, is he good at floaters?
that one was, you're right, man.
Everything was new. I'm telling you, it was night after night. There was probably a 3-month run from December 15th, the holy day, till I don't know what 3 months after that is, March 15th, February 15th. That was just every game felt like unwrapping a new present. And you're like, oh my God, he's got good hands. And he steals the ball sometimes.
You know the real treat in life, which is I know something that you don't know.
Yeah.
There's really nothing better, right? And again, we're still in the, Jahlil Okafor, Kristaps Porzingis, Karl Anthony. You're trying to tell people Jokic is good, and they're trying to tell you to settle down, and you're trying to be no, you should be more excited.
Yeah.
You have it wrong. So yeah, that was super fun.
I was in college during this season, and it was constantly of my friends trying to get me to go out, and me being no, I'm gonna stay in my dorm room and watch the Nuggets game tonight.
Great call. You made the right call.
And they'd be why? And I'd be well, there's this guy Jokic, and he does some crazy stuff every night.
Every single night, man. Every single
fun.
game. There was a lot of iconic moments. Murray's rookie season is then. It just was a good one. It was a good one, man. And Gary Harris was ascending. It's his second best year. So let us know in the comments. So for me, it was 23-20, 17, 21, 19, 18, 24, 16, and 22.
My list is shot because I forgot 2 years. So
let us know in the comments. So you don't have to give all if you don't. You can give us all, or you can just give us your top 3 or 4. I am curious what everybody thinks. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, I'm going to talk about some storylines. You're going to tell me how into them you are. Which one you think is going to be the top storyline for the Nuggets going in?
Oh, Adam, I'm into it. I'm into these storylines. Am I prepared to do this ad read? Yes, I am. Let's go to Bet365, where it's never ordinary, except for this ad read, which is pretty ordinary. I do it 5 times a week. So if you don't know now, you should know by now. Bet365 is a very, very, very fun place to do some legal sports wagering. They believe every sport should be epic. Right now, new customers can choose between 2 offers when they open an account at Bet365. Use the code DNVR365 to sign up, deposit $10. Here's the fun part. You get a choice. Choice number 1, bet and get offer. Place a bet of $5 or more, get $150 in bonus bets. That's easy. Option number 2, first bet safety net offer by placing a bet up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund in bonus bets throughout the seasons. They'll be tossing you all kinds of fun offers. For example, the NBA early payout offer. You could bet on a team to win. You could put it in a parlay. If they go up by 20 and you've accepted this offer, you win the bet even if they lose the game. Basketball, it's a game of runs. Get a little insurance with the NBA early payout offer. You have to be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And if I'm in the mood for a rich, flavorful brew, I'm not talking light beers. I'm talking like some of Colorado's finest, right? Like let me get that flavor going. I'm going straight to Breckenridge Brewery because they have a lot of great beers, but most specifically, they now have a new West Coast style IPA that you have to check out. It is called Ridge Runner. It is a very earnest and sincere read here. We love the Ridge Runner. The can looks
actually
great.
Really is phenomenal.
It's so good.
Get you drunk so fast too. If that's
does,
what you're going for,
that's
downhill
what you're
racer.
after. Also, I think Breck is like some of the kings of branding. They're so good at just making their cans look awesome and dope and delicious.
They're Colorado, baby.
The Ridge Runner can is really, really great. There's the Avalanche Amber Ale, the Mile High City for the Nuggets, the Broncos Country Pale Ale if you're feeling Bo Nixed up right now, the Fun Slinger if you just think it's going to be a fun year for the Broncos, and the Good Company Hard Seltzer if you're just looking to enjoy some good drinks with some good company. No matter what you're looking for, Breckenridge Brewery has an option that's delicious and right for you. Check out the beer locator at breckbrew.com to find a brew near you.
All right, we are back for the back half here of the show. So, there's a lot of people know I do Locked On Nuggets as well. I did a show last night on top storylines, and I try to mix it up. I try not to talk about the same thing on both shows. I'm very cognizant of that, try to always switch it up. But I thought this was one where there actually is some interesting synergy. You kind of did a quick rundown on those on that show, but I want to go in depth and kind of talk to you about them and kind of go back and forth. And I'm just kind of curious how you feel about these storylines. Like, is this a big deal to you? Is this something you're really into?
All right.
One of the storylines, so I'm going to do them out of the order that I placed them in. And you can tell me, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how great or big of a storyline you feel it is.
All right, let's do it.
I think Christian Braun is a big storyline and going to be one of the major ones. And it's his ability to fit in that starting lineup. Let me give you a number that I share. In 1,134 minutes next to Jokic over 2 seasons, the Nuggets are plus 17.1. That's bigger than it was with KCP and Jamal and all this different stuff. Plus 17.1. His 2-point field goal percentage when he plays alongside Jokic is 79.2%. When he plays without Jokic, 60%. That's 19% better he shoots from 2 when he shares the court with Jokic. 1,100 minutes is a big enough sample size. You probably shouldn't think that's just going to be the trend forever. But it certainly shows that from 2, he's significantly better. And from 3, he's 3% better. So still a little bit, it gets a bump there. To me, I look at this and I go, there's a chance Christian Braun's just way better as a starter than we think. And it's actually awesome.
He can run and jump and can dribble. So chances are he's going to look much better playing with Jokic. I mean, that's like, and he's huge, really. Because the only people who haven't been able to figure this out are my height or just super bad. And Christian Braun is neither of those things. So he's going to be better alongside Jokic. I'm going to give this an 8, dude. I'm going to stop from, like, I'm not going to say 10 because I'm going to reserve 10s for, like, that would be, like, for Phoenix, like, Kevin Durant mesh. Like, that's a superstar. That Christian Braun's a role player. However, Denver's entire thing here, I think, is contingent upon having one of at least the top 2 best starting 5 lineups in the league. That can still be accomplished, in my opinion. A lot of people nationally probably feel differently, but a lot of that is on Christian Braun's shoulders. If he's really good, Denver's right back where we thought they would be. So I'm going to give it an 8.
I'm firmly planting my flag on Christian Braun is going to be good this year. Like, really good. I think that because I think he's in the bin of, again, he's the middle child, right? He's in the Strawther, Peyton Watson bin of like, are these guys going to be? I think he's over that hump and going to be in the more favorable situation, starting with Jokic. I think I know what types of players Jokic really appreciates. He cuts hard. He stays in his lane. You know, he's going to have to finish better at the rim. This is to me is the big question mark I have about Christian Braun is he's got to become a efficient finisher. But when I see that he shoots 19% better from 2 with Jokic, I'm like, I think that's it. I think he is going to be a good finisher, an athletic finisher. I would not be surprised if he had tons of dunks this year.
Right, that's really
And I just think that offensive rebounding, transition play, harder cutting, bigger target, bigger receiver for Jokic. Like, that stuff matters too. I just think that he's going to have, I don't think the numbers are going to be gaudy, the counting stats, but I think the starting lineup is going to be very good. And I think his efficiency is going to be at an outlier relative to his first 2 years.
Man, if he can become an effective cutter, I'm going to be really, really excited. I think it's a strong element of Denver's half-court offense that is missing right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think he has any misconceptions about what his role is when he's on the floor with Jokic.
If I'll go this far, it's my number one take. Like, if we had to rank takes we feel the most confident in, like,
he'll be good.
My take is that Christian Braun is going to have a good year.
Can I make it kind of annoying for you?
Sure.
Will it be better than KCP or comparable?
I think that it's going to be comparable. Mm-hmm. I think the numbers in the regular season will be better. The big question for Christian is going to be, and it was the same with KCP, by the way. Most of the series, KCP was great. In a few, he wasn't. And I think it's going to be the same with Christian, where if you get the matchups that are favorable to him, he might look great for all 4, just all the way from start to finish. And if you get 2 or 3 bad ones in a row, it might be like, man, he's really struggling in this matchup.
Sure.
So I think he'll be a little more matchup dependent in the playoffs, maybe even so than KCP was, because at least KCP can shoot, even though he didn't shoot well last year.
All right.
But regular season, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, yes, comparable, maybe even slightly better.
Wow. That's huge then. That's the over for Denver right there.
That being said, Denver had both last year. This is why I say I don't think Denver's going to be better, because Denver had Christian last year.
Sure.
They didn't obviously go to him too much.
But given that the expectations are lower, if that manifests, like Denver's winning 53,
by
54.
the way, it's another thing of Malone that I criticize. I said KCP played more percentage of his minutes with Jokic than any other starter. And I look at that and I go, strange, because you had a good replacement for him. You didn't have a good replacement for everybody. You had a good one for KCP and yet never played him. And you needed shooting off the bench. So I think it's a thing that Malone kind of dropped the ball on. And if I'm being honest, I'm curious how Malone views Christian. I don't know if he loves Christian as much as I do. And as I'm certain, I mean, I don't know that he doesn't. But when he says there's a position battle for shooting guard, I understand it to a degree. It's a little bit of who Malone is. But I look at it and I go, not really. There's definitely a favorite, but we'll see what happens.
I think everything you've said is true. I also think in this role and opportunity, Christian could win Malone over in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just 2 weeks of like, I play harder than every other starter and we're good.
Yeah.
And that I think he'll buy in.
The next, so you said 8.
If he hasn't already. Yeah.
8 for you, a storyline. To me, I think that one is like 8.5. I guess 8.5.
I'll just because he's not Jokic, so I'll give it a little room. But
dude, this is definitely hipster hour. If you were asking like that casual NBA fan, they're like, really, that's the most interesting thing.
But
I'm out.
Yeah. But it matters, man.
But for me, I think it's cool. We're gonna go with Peyton Watson Leap, another young guy. So what is his offensive game? Can he shoot? He had 23 games where he took 3 or more 3-point attempts. Does he get a chance to play pick and roll and drive a little bit more? And then is the rotation going to work against him? The Nuggets need shooting. The bench needs shooting.
Yeah.
So does he go to the starters and get surrounded by other shooters? Is he on the bench and then he just looks bad at all times because his only a catch and shoot 3-point shooter and that's not his strength? Or maybe it is his strength now and he worked on it all summer. So Peyton Watson to me is that, unlike Christian, I always say you have to have the 1 year and then you almost have to have 2 years. You have your rookie season. Then you have a second year where everyone thinks you make the leap, like Christian was this last year, but you don't really. You just get more comfortable in the things that you were doing. And then year 3, oftentimes for role players, is an expansion year. Now I've earned everyone's trust, and now I can go outside the lines a little bit. Peyton is in year 2. So to me, he's more in the do what you did last year, but with more confidence, but don't do anything else other than what you did last year. You just now get a longer leash to do those things.
I kind of agree. Like, I don't think the second unit is about Peyton Watson turning into a monster. I mean, I would take it, but he is there, like the tons of athleticism, the transition threat, the defense. But I kind of think like the bench looking maybe better rests on having a better path to an identity, maybe more playmakers out there with Šarić, Russ being someone who can penetrate and stuff. Like, I don't know if it's all about Peyton Watson evolving. That being said, you need him. Like, it can't be if you're in round 2 again and you're playing the Wolves. Like, Peyton Watson has to have proved that he's got to be out there. So I'm going to give this one a 6. I think you can survive it if he's average, but I think you're sitting much prettier if he looks like a better player.
The reason I have this one lower on my personal ranking is I just don't think it's going to go well. If this one does go well, and it's not that I think PWAT's going to have a bad year. I just think that next year is going to be the PWAT year.
Okay.
Like the year of PWAT. I think this year is the year of Christian.
Yeah.
If I were to, like, we do this every year, the year of somebody, I think this next year is the year of Christian. Next year would be my PWAT breakout year. Again, I think this year he does what he did last year, but more so. And then next year's the year where it's like, okay, he's running the break a little bit more.
Sure,
he brings the ball up the court a little bit more.
But it's not like, hey, man, we still need you to do X, Y, Z. Just more minutes, more confidence.
And I think he more has games that pop. Rather than a season that pops from start to finish, I think it's more like, oh, man, another game with 8 stocks.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he's... the thing I'm most curious about, and it's very open-ended, I don't even really know what the possibilities are, but what Russ does for Peyton. Is there on-court chemistry? Is there just like, is it the perfect guy for him off court because they're close and we know Russ works hard and we know he's intense? Can they develop some sort of connection if they're playing together off the bench a bunch? I don't know how that will manifest, but it's one of the side things about Peyton that's more interesting to me, just having Russ around.
Yeah. Next one up is Jamal Murray's season. Is he ready on day one? I shared numbers on this. This will not surprise you. What do you think is the worst month of Jamal Murray over his career? What month do you think he performs the worst from October till April? Which month?
Is it the first 2 months?
October is the worst month indeed. 14 points per game he averages, and his true shooting is about 50%. Would you guess what is his second worst month?
Is it the next month?
It would be November, where he averages in his career 16 points, and his true shooting is 53%. His third worst month.
Is it December?
It's December. It's actually his third worst month. He averages 16.5 points, and he has 55.5 true shooting. Each month gets a little bit better, but then when you get to January, February, March, absolute bangers, especially January, February, where he's averaging 18 and 19 points respectively, and he's shooting 57 and 60% true shooting. So he goes from 50% and 14 points per game in October to 60% true shooting and 5 more points at 19 a game in January. That just shows that he does ramp up. I mean, it's not just a one-year outlier. This is his career that it ramps up. But he can't do that this year.
No.
The schedule is too important early on. The team needs him to carry the burden too much more. And so, to me, this is a huge storyline.
Dude, it's the biggest storyline.
I agree. I think it's number one.
For me, like, in Nuggets context, I'm giving this a 10. If Jamal Murray comes out and he's having his best season ever...
Oh, we're back.
It's not just back. It's like... Hey, Boston, don't screw this up. We'll see you then, right? I don't care what other people say. It's fair to criticize how Denver's summers have gone. I just still know that if Murray's that guy, they're that team. That's not the same as saying I have 10 out of 10 confidence that it's going to happen, but it is the most important thing. And also those first 3 months, like Murray looking good from January on, we've seen it.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
And it's amazing. But if he is a star for the first 3 months, there is not a single thing that could happen that could make the fan base hit refresh and buy back in any quicker. And he, that's what we're waiting for from Jamal. If he does that, I'm feeling that would mean more to me than some big free agent acquisition.
Which is also part of this. How does he respond to the criticism? Because as much as, like, I don't want to overstate just us, but the fan base in general has been hard on Jamal in ways that I'm certain he's seen.
Yes.
And I just wonder how he responds to that. And we should know early on. Is it a thing that you can tell is bugging him and he's now, like, resentful?
Or has it pushed him forward?
Is it pushed him forward? How does he handle it? And then here's something. Tell me if you find this meaningful or not. Murray dunks by year. Rookie season 17, next year 27, year after that 25, year after that 29. That's the year that the next year he gets 19 in 48 games. So he's on pace. By the way, 59 games in 2020, 48 games the year after that, and those are the two highest he gets in dunks. Then he gets injured, right? 2023, he comes back just 17 dunks, same as his rookie season. And then last year, just 19 dunks. So almost the same as his rookie season. And on top of that, he shot just 65% at the rim last year, which is pretty low for him. So I look at this and I go, Murray is not going to be the same athlete probably that he was before the injury, but he shouldn't be this. I think that if we were to see dunks by month, we would probably also see that he's dunking in January and February and not in October, November, December. And I think dunking and finishing at the rim is another one of these marks, indicators of how's Murray doing.
There's injuries and then there's conditioning, and there's all the ways that they're related. And Jamal is a guy that has traditionally played his way into shape.
Yeah.
But I hope that era's over because while he's still young, especially by human being standards, quite young, as a point guard in the league with as many lower body injuries as he's had and nicks and knacks, like they're adding up, man. They're adding up. And it's part of what's hard about this max. Like, obviously, you give Jamal the contract, but part of the anxiety is like how much is left there in the athleticism tank. But I think there's a lot more than we've seen. And I think if Murray, here's the bottom line. Now, it was before injuries. When Murray went to the bubble and there was nothing to do but get in peak shape and play basketball, he looked like a first ballot Hall of Famer, bar none. And so I that's just it. Like, I do think there's a world in which if he comes in the best shape possible, he's a better player in the first 3 months. So I hope we're in that era.
Next one I have here, organizational stability. This one to me is an interesting one. So organizational stability. One, you have a GM and a coach who are extension eligible as we speak. Is this the plan for the long term? We've never had this question before.
I know, man.
About, like, could it be a new GM at the helm if things go south? Could it be a new coach at the helm if things go south? And then on top of that, while I think it can be overstated, schism, because I think every NBA organization, there's not perfect alignment between coach and front office. You go through every football team, anything, I don't care what you are, perfect alignment it never happens. But how much can both of the visions of the coach and the front office get on the same page? And here are some areas where this could come into play. How does Malone use Peyton Watson? I referenced that earlier.
Yep.
Does he try to make Peyton Watson's life easy? Or is that too far down the priority list that Peyton Watson's just kind of SOL, fit in where you can? How does he manage Russ? He's never had a personality like Russ.
Yeah.
For as great of a coach as he's been, he's had to deal with Nikola Jokic all these years. That's like the easiest guy ever. Russ is a little harder. Does he mix up the style on offense? I know that I've been talking about this. I think the team needs to run some more for Michael Porter, more off-ball action. Is this a year where he goes and says, you know what, we're going to go back to the drawing board? And then lastly, does he stagger someone besides Jamal? These are all questions that, do they align with the team that Calvin Booth has given him? And is he willing to mold to that? Has Cal molded to Malone? This is a year that I think that's kind of a major storyline, and we'll be able to tell probably early on.
I'll throw one more on there too. To what extent does Malone commit to and stick with Christian Braun, who I think is like, I'll tell you this because Calvin would tell you this. Calvin is as confident in Christian Braun as anyone in the world outside of Christian's family.
It's his guy.
Maybe even more than his family, and that's more about him than them. It's his guy, and so that's one. I'm going to say for now it's a 5 or a 6, but here's the thing, man. If
this could become story 1.
You come up short again.
Yeah.
Why did you come up short? This could blow up to an 8 or a 9 or a 10. Or
even in the middle of the season, it could become.
Or they could have friction the whole way, disagree on little things. Jokic is a god. They win another title. Everyone's happy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 5 or 6, but it's like a sore. You don't want this to get you want this to get worse.
Yeah.
So
we've got 4 more to hit in about 7 minutes here. The next one, Julian Strawther, is he ready or not? Can he shoot 40%? Where does he play? How much does he grow throughout the season? Because he has to play. Denver doesn't have shooters, so he has to play. But does he have to play in the playoffs? It sure would help if he was good enough to. So does he grow that much? And then is too much being asked of him because of he has to play? Like, is this a year where he's starting to feel the pressure? One of the things I think about is, what if they lose games because of Julian Strawther? Like, you get in the month of January and 3 losses in a 2-week span are basically because he couldn't guard his guy. Is
Couldn't
that
hit
weigh
anything,
on,
yeah.
or hit anything? And all of a sudden, is that weigh on him? And it's like, man, the game, everybody else on the team did good enough to win, but I didn't do my job.
Yeah, but it could weigh on him, or he could then come out through the other side of it, right? And that's kind of what we've talked about with the balance of the regular season. Then you could enter the playoffs a more battle-tested and stronger person because you lost your confidence, you found it on the other side. Can I ask you this? I know it was directed to me. Strawther or Peyton, which is more important to you?
I mean, Peyton, especially if he can shoot, because Denver needs a shooter. But I think that Strawther does the skill that is most like deficient on the roster. But Peyton Watson, to me, I have way more confidence in being a great player.
Yeah, I kind of think there's something about Julian's shooting that they need.
Yeah.
That I'm going to give it a 6 probably.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting one. The only thing I think Julian has a really good attitude. That's an easy thing to say. We don't know these guys that well, but the way he's talked about Summer League, the way he played through the injury, the way he talks about how he approaches G League, like I just think Julian's built for the process. So even if what you say happens, that's a guy who I trust to like hold the line mentally and come out of it a better player.
Russell Westbrook in Denver. This is a big story. What impact does he have on the culture? Does he push Peyton, Christian, Julian? Is he like a great vet to those guys? Does he push Jamal even in the ways we've talked about a lot? Does he fit next to Jokic? Does he fit into the rotation?
Can he play in the playoffs?
Can he play in the playoffs? Does he hijack possessions in a way that's like really uncomfortable and we freaking hate? Nobody hates more like the Will Barton hijacked this possession and took a
buckle
shot.
Up.
People hate it. Westbrook does it times a lot more.
Up.
And then how do fans relate to him? Is he a fan favorite? Is it a little mixed? A lot of storylines there. Scale of 1 to 10, how big is this one?
7.
Wow, so low. This is like a 9.5 to me. This is a huge
7.
story. This is the second biggest storyline of the year.
I'm probably too low. He's still a backup point guard on a minimum. But, good Lord, as far as minimum contracts go, things that could make you considerably worse or considerably better, this is up there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think actually will be important in terms of organizational stability and friction is just him having a good month out of the gate, because I just don't think you want pitchforks out, man. And I think he's the easiest thing to react to first, right?
Right.
If he's not fitting in, if it doesn't look great, like what the hell was that desperate signing from Denver? People from LA are going to start chiming in. It's not going to be fun. He could also make them much, much better, much more intense, much more excited to play basketball, to compete. I'm going to stick with 7 because it's still a backup point guard, but it's an important one.
The next one I have 2 more, and they're 2 big ones as well. Is Michael Porter Jr. different? This one is like, we kind of gloss it over because I think it's less likely now. The deeper you get into your career, the more like the growth slows down. But Michael Porter's a little bit of a rare exception. He had 49 dunks last year. That's the second most in his career. Second most. He's now 2 years removed from his latest surgery. There is hope that he is getting healthier, that this is like, nope, now his body has given all these up this summers to train and do some stuff. He had 75 his sophomore season, and he played 600 fewer minutes. I think that he was healthier then than he was last year, for example. But is it possible that health is a thing that is still ascending for him since this last one? And if so, does it make a meaning? Like 50 dunks, basically, have last year. 75 is a lot more in fewer minutes, in about half the minutes. There is a world where he has 100 dunks next year.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really fascinating question because I don't know if people really know this. He said it publicly on a podcast with a woman whose name is escaping me. I will find this again. They sort of took a different approach to his back injury and his pain and understanding it. Like, the difference between pain and an injury, and I need to chart this versus I need to go back to the doctor, or I need this procedure. After the Nuggets won the title, Porter's back was so bad he almost retired.
Yeah.
And then he reached out to this woman. And it's going to sound silly. I'll find the podcast. I'll share it again. The easiest way I can explain it is that it was a little more psychosomatic. They started tracking the links between what was going on for him mentally, the amount of stress and pain he was feeling, sort of changed his opened up his mind on like the difference between pain and injury, what he can play through, what he can't. So I think, and then he played 81 out of 82 games. There is a chance. You're never out of the woods medically with Porter. You're just not.
Right.
But there is a chance that it's less rehab and more building going forward. He's not 19, he's not 20, he's not 21. But in terms of basketball reps, like Porter's behind. And if he can stay healthy, there's still room for him to grow as a player. I'm going to give this a 7 because they won a title with him as he is.
Yeah.
And I think that can be done again if Jamal, more important, is who we need him to be.
I think the last one here is just about Russ. Like him playing with Russ. It'd be cool if he saves Russ. Russ needs shooters. He loves getting into the paint, finding the corner shooter. It'd be great if there was a Russ Porter connection. And it was like, that's my receiver.
Dude.
I got to be tied to him. And there's this awesome Yoke MPJ connection.
Yes.
And then there's this awesome Russ MPJ. And he just always is getting the table sat for him. Shoots 47% from 3 this year and gets the most of his career.
And this is kind of part of why I really like the idea of Porter staggering with the bench this year. I'm not super confident it'll happen, but one thing Russ can do is penetrate, force a defense to collapse, and kick out.
Yeah.
And man, it would be really, really fun. Or in transition, I just need someone. Aaron Gordon's the only one who's done it so far to just lock in on all the assists you can rack up just feeding this guy and finding a mind meld. That would be so much fun. And I am hopeful Porter is at least in consideration for bench minutes.
And then the last one, another one that I don't know how likely it is, but is Yoke different?
By the way, yes, Ted, Nicole Sachs. Thank you. That is the name of the woman who did the podcast.
Is Jokic different? Is he still ascending? Is he still getting better, or is he kind of at his peak where he'll hover? Is he more vocal? Is this whole more serious, edgy Jokic thing for real? Or was that just a national team, that circumstance? Is he wearing down at all? And then I never really thought about this until the other day when we did our auction of things that could happen. But do you know how many people have won 4 MVPs?
No. Is it like 3?
Well, let me tell you if you've heard of these guys. Michael Jordan.
I have.
LeBron James.
Heard of him.
Wilt Chamberlain.
He was the volleyball player, right?
Yep. Bill Russell.
Okay.
And Kareem.
All right.
That's it. Magic Johnson, no. Larry Bird, no. Like, you could go through Steph Curry, no. Kobe Bryant, no. Getting his 4th, if he were to do it, again, I'm not holding my breath for it, but if he were to do it, actually would put him in the, you could tell the whole history of the league with those 6 guys. So that would be such a big thing. But all of those things, just is Yoke different, man? Because I kind of expect him to be the exact same, but I don't know. Maybe he has something up his sleeve that surprises us all.
Yeah, I'm struggling on the number on this, right? Because Yoke could be exactly who he is and not change it all, and everything's golden. Chat, curious if you can sound off. How worried are we about Jokic's 3 as far as absolute peak of his powers, Jokic? Because I kind of think he loses 3 to 5% of his. You literally cannot guard him.
Oh, it's the one thing standing in the way. I just don't know if that one's going to change. I don't think that one's going to change. You don't think
it's going to get better?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get better.
Get worse. But that's kind of my concern.
Another area he might be better, though, is just aggressiveness. I think over time he's learned to be more aggressive, more consistently.
I do, too.
But he's still not perfect at it. He still has more where I'm like, yo, go at him. Force the issue.
Yeah, and also just the hunted shit.
Oh, my God.
No, but here's what I mean. People always tell you those games about, Michael Jordan. The team was tired. It was our 4th road game on a 4-game road trip. We should have lost this one, and he just didn't let us, just because he didn't want to.
Yeah.
And I think Yoke has more of that than people think, but could he have even more of it? Could he have more of just this loss, maybe you guys may think it doesn't mean anything, but we're hurtling towards complacency, and I'm not letting that happen. Yeah, man, there's room for Jokic to get even better, and that would be glorious. But I'm going to give it a 5 or a 6 because nothing could change at all, and he could be the best player alive, and they could win.
Agree, but there is a part of me that's just hoping Yoke comes into the season with a little bit of edge, that last year's loss was the most painful of his career, and that this year it's okay, I know what I need to do now, and it's just different.
Yeah.
We'll see. A couple Super Chats, Scale?
Yes, sir. That was a fun show, Adam.
That was fun, man. We did it.
Mr. Exquisite Nugget. Trade Zeke for Micic. Vote. What should we do? Trade or keep Zeke? I would love to trade. You know what? I think if it were up to everyone, we'd all be on the same page. Congrats to Moach for eventually breaking that record. P.S. When is the Kale bitching or hate end? I don't know.
What?
Cedric, you're the one doing it. So that's up to you. He has got a show tonight. Hell yeah, Cedric.
Just to clear the air, because everyone says I'm hiding my face. Here's my face.
There's
I'm
Kale.
not hiding it. Okay.
Kale would love everyone to see his face. What are you guys talking about?
We
Come
don't
on.
let him.
We're hiding his face.
Yeah. 55555-ish. Congrats on All City Dallas. I remember finding you guys during the bubble run. It's been amazing to see how fast the All City brand has grown since.
Thank you so much, brother. Big, exciting times for us here. Very exciting times.
And super dope hip hop, always bringing the info, and he's saying what you just said. Well, there's actually a different super chat. Playoff games won at 27 or younger with 30 plus points, 5 assists, and 60 plus true shooting percentage. LeBron 15 times, MJ and Murray 11 times. Curry and Wade 10 times. That's the top 3 in NBA history at 27.
I'm telling you, Jamal Murray's ceiling is so high.
Yep.
And I hope that this is the year that he unlocks that. Only he can unlock it. Only he.
Only he. I will say super dope hip hop is always pointing out what needs to be pointed out. As low as this last year was, like if we're going off of Nadir's,
He's the Brendan vote to MPJ. He is that to Jamal.
Yeah, he really is.
Gotta
But like,
remind you.
if you're going off Nadir's, you got to take peaks into account. And the peak was unbelievable.
His peaks are unbelievable, and I hope we see his peak about 82 times this year in the regular season, and I don't know, 16 times in the postseason. That's my hope. Because if they do that, you know what happens? They win a championship. Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. Kale, great work today. I don't care what the chat
Kale.
says, Kale.
Go.
Great show.
I think you look great.
I think you look great, too. Everybody, hit that like button on the way out. We're back tomorrow. We'll see you then.